Everyone, I'm Suzanne Ricci. I'm here today to lead this great conversation we're going to have on luck is not a career success strategy. And so I will say I don't get to see any of you, so I'm literally just staring at a camera at myself. So if you could just drop in the chat something so that I know you're out there. I have a presentation I'm going to share. Hi, Mike. All right. Awesome. Thank you, guys. And so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and then we're going to have a conversation just about what can we do so that we're not leaving our career success in the hands of other individuals, right? So let me share. Okay, so you should be able to see my screen, right? As well as, now it's a really different look for me. All right, so now you can see my screen as well as me, if you choose to see me. So let me take a minute and introduce myself. As I said, I'm Suzanne Ricci. I'm the Chief Success Officer at Computer Coach Technology Training. We provide IT and business certification training for individuals who are looking to upskill and land the opportunities that we're looking for. We train in the areas of networking, cybersecurity, coding, data. We have a really strong business division. So what that really means for you is I get the pleasure of coaching individuals in a very diverse IT background. I have done this for the last 22 years in Tampa Bay, and I'm incredibly proud to say I've helped thousands of individuals at this point get to their defined career success. It's something I have a real passion for. The more you get to know me, you're going to know I really do have a passion for helping other people, but also what you're going to get to know about me is I'm really not comfortable talking about myself. So with that, if anybody does have any specific questions, please don't hesitate to use the Q&A. We're going to have a little presentation here, and then I really want to open it up and answer the questions that are facing you right now. What are your pain points in your career? And we'll see if we can work some of those kinks out, right? So with that, let's get started. Oh, hold on, my screen's not moving. All right, so let's talk about what is career success. And this is really important because we often, growing up, we get told things like, well, go be successful, go to college, get a degree, you'll be successful. But the truth is that we're never really truly taught how to define what is success for us as individuals. It's very, very possible and incredibly likely that the person you're sitting next to, even in this virtual world, has a very different definition of career success. And for me, I've interviewed thousands of individuals at this point, and I always ask them, well, how do you define career success? And the truth is not a lot of people can answer that question because sometimes they haven't even thought about it. They just know they've been told almost their entire lives to go be successful. And then sometimes we'll reach the end of our lives and we'll even, sit down and we'll be contemplating, well, was I a success or not? And so what I found throughout my years of helping others, as well as planning and preparing my own career success, is that we need to define what career success is. We need to define the difference between career success and family success and fun time success. And we can have all of these definitions that are coexisting at the same time. But what's really important, what we're going to talk about today, is career success and coming up with the definition. And so I think it goes with that old saying, right? If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And your career is no different than that. A lot of times I will have people say to me when I ask, so where do you want to go in your career? They'll say, well, I don't know. I never thought about it. My company just has this plan, and that's kind of the succession planning that they have. I just kind of follow that. And I go, oh, well, do you want to do that? And they'll say, well, I don't know. I never really even thought about it. And the thing is that your career is yours and no one's going to care about it more than you. And so I created this tiered plan to success. And what it really does, it doesn't matter if you're in school and you're new to your career, or if you're 10 years in and you have lots of experience. When I sit down with customers, I sit down and I plan, okay, where do you want to be in the next 5 years? If you want to do it for 7 years, you can do it for 7 years. It's perfectly fine. But I like to plan out at least 5 years. Where do you want to be in 5 years? Forget where you are now. Where do you want to be in 5 years? We want to make sure that that's a realistic goal, okay? So realistically, let's say if you're just coming out of college, or let's say you're 1 year into a master's program, you have 2 more years. Well, your 5-year goal of being a CISO, that's probably not realistic, right? So pick something, what is realistic for you? Where can you be in 5 years? And I have customers who do that in a lot of different ways, because not everybody knows what job title they want to be at, right? So you can do it by job title. You can do it by salary. Let's just say in 5 years, I want to maybe have 1 child, I want to be married, and I want to own my house. For me to make that possible, I'm going to need to be in a career that makes at least $100,000 a year. That's fine. We have something now that we can plan off of, because if we know that we're going to start today as maybe a SOC analyst, and where can we be in 5 years that will get us $100,000 salary? Now, to do that, because we now have where we want to be in 5 years, we can reverse engineer the entire plan. So now we can start doing research on, okay, I need to make $100,000. What careers within my industry pay $100,000? What are those job titles? What skills do I need within each of those job titles? And at this point, you would then be able to say, okay, year 1, I'm going to be a SOC analyst level 1. Well, year 2, I need to be a SOC analyst level 2. Maybe I'm going to switch and go into some type of pen testing in year 3, and you can see how it will work, right? So if you have an idea of where you want to go, either by job title or by salary, then you can reverse engineer the entire plan. And you can do this by doing research and what we call career interviews. Career interviews are so important. And the thing is that with all the technology we have today, they're actually really accessible. And when we say career interviews, let's say you do want to be a CISO in 5 years, and you have the experience now that puts you on a track to do that. Well, then my recommendation is to start reaching out to, I always say at least 3, 5 is really ideal. So you'd reach out to 5 different CISOs and ask them for 15 minutes of their time. You know, historically, we used to have to do this in a face-to-face world. And I'm not talking about just 2020 before a pandemic. I'm talking about 15, 18 years ago. When I started coaching customers, you would have to find people and you'd have to phone them up, and you'd either have to do a phone interview or get them to take a meeting with you, right? Now, you don't have to do that. Now, with all of the technology that we have, you can reach out to individuals through LinkedIn or through a variety of associations. For example, the Tampa Bay ISC Squared association, right? You can find individuals that have these positions that you want, and you can ask them for 20, 30 minutes of their time. The great thing that's going to come out of these meetings and what you want to obtain is, what are the skills I need to be able to get to this role? What type of education do I need to get to this role? And what type of experiences do I need to get to this role? And I like to ask all of the individuals the same general questions. I have them planned out ahead of time. You do want to make sure that you're incredibly respectful of everyone's time. So if you say 20 minutes, you want to keep it to 20 minutes. And there is a great book called The Professional 20-Minute Networking Plan, I think the book is called. If you are interested, drop it in the chat or whatever, and I'll find the exact name and drop it in for you before the session is done. But it's a great book, and it really does outline how to keep your networking to 20 minutes exactly. It works really great. So once you're having these interviews and you're asking the same questions, at the end, you're going to cross compare all of the data that you have. And then you want to reflect on your current skill set and what's possible for you. Now, a lot of times customers will come back to me and say, you know what, Suzanne, it's not possible. I'm not going to really get to that role for me because I interviewed 10 people and they all had master's degrees. And personally, I don't want to go back to school and get a master's degree. That's okay. But if you don't do the exercise of interviewing individuals, then you're never going to know what is realistic and you can't craft your own career. And so this is really important as far as being able to come up with your plan. And so let's say we are willing to go get a master's degree, and by year 5, we have that master's degree. We know in year 1, right now, we can be researching these degrees that we're going to need. We know by year 2, we need to apply. Why? Because we know by year 3, we need to start because we know it's a 3-year program. And by year 5, we have to have the degree conferred so that we would indeed be qualified for these roles that we want, right? And maybe it's not a degree. Degrees aren't necessarily everything, right? I live in the world of continuing education, super important. But what skills do you need to add on? Maybe you figure out in your career research information that you need to have very strong communication skills. Well, that tells us maybe we should join Toastmasters and we should become certified Toastmaster presenters and certified Toastmaster leadership, whatever the credential is called. And you can plan on when to do that. By having all of the skills that you need, both hard and soft, then you can actually plan out how are you going to obtain these skills? Are there grants available that you can get these skills? And we're very fortunate in Tampa Bay. There are a lot of training grants available that you could apply for. If you qualify, they could pay for you to upskill, sometimes with no money out of pocket. So I do have more info on that too if you want it. But you'll be able to tell, okay, I need to take soft skills classes and hard skills classes to be able to get to where I want to go. And the great thing about having this plan is that if you are working, when you sit down with your supervisor or your boss or whomever it is, and they say, well, what do you want to improve this year? You're not leaving it up to them. You are in control of your own destiny because you know where it is that you want to go. And again, I want to be really clear. You can do this by saying, you know what, this is the salary I want to be at because I don't really know what job titles I want. Or you can do it by job title because I'm passionate about a certain specific whatever that may be. And the beautiful thing is that this works in any industry. Yes, I happen to specialize in IT, right? I work with IT professionals all day, every day. But this works in any industry. So let's move on. So when we come to actually creating our career success plan, you really want to have a positioning statement for yourself. So, of course, based on where you are today, I want to make sure that, Suzanne in 5 years is going to have the skills and the necessary experience to be the CISO in a small company with, maybe 20 employees focusing on the finance industry, something like that. Now, having that positioning statement tells me a lot of information, right? It tells me the industries that I want to start really branding myself in. And we're going to talk about branding in just a minute. Really branding myself as far as being maybe really good in the finance industry as far as my cybersecurity or my tech skills or whatever. When you're doing your planning, one thing I always coach on is make sure you're Googling alternative job titles. And this is really important. 22 years ago, job titles were all really pretty flat. They were static. They were the same. A help desk specialist was a help desk specialist in almost every company. Today, there's all kinds of amazingly creative new titles, right? And so I always suggest making sure that you're Googling, alternative job titles for, a SOC analyst or something like that. You'd be surprised what you'd come up with. I'm not so sure about cybersecurity if the job titles are as fluid as they are in maybe other industries, but even a simple Google as far as alternative job titles for cloud technician will give you a lot of different possible job titles. I always like to have some type of industries that my customers are targeting as far as their career success. When someone says any industry, that's really hard. And sometimes people will say to me, but what I do is kind of the same in every industry. And I'm calling, no way on that. Not today. Maybe 20 years ago, possibly, but not today. Industries are so specific and there's so much disruption going on across so many different industries that you really do want to find somewhere that you really can specialize in and become that, thought leader within the finance industry for cybersecurity, or within, I don't know if it's Bitcoin or cryptocurrency or whatever it is that you want to focus on. By having your industry and job titles and knowing where you want to be in 5 years, you can really start to reverse engineer and target the companies that you want to work for. So let's say you want to work in a Fortune 500 company. Within 5 years, these are the companies that I want to work in. And you can set yourself up by actually, sharing information on LinkedIn if that's your thing, or by creating articles that could be published in magazines, whether that's in a pin name or your name, it doesn't matter. If you want to move around, like maybe you're here in college in Tampa Bay and it's amazingly beautiful, but maybe you want to go back to the Northeast to be with your family after. That's okay. And then types of employers. When we say that, when we talk about types of employers, some people want to work in a startup, right? Some people want to work in Fortune 500 companies. It's perfectly fine. The whole point of planning your career success is coming up with where do you want to be in 5 years, reverse engineering that, and then having a plan for yourself. Don't leave your destiny in somebody else's hands. All right. So when we talk about, career planning and coming up with what skills we need and all that, we have to kind of know what we have today, right? And so we need to assess where we are. And I like to use the SWOT. And I know SWOTs are super popular in business. I'm sure quite a few of us on the call today have done SWOTs as far as where can we move the company into or something like that, right? But they're actually really good for your career. So when we talk about SWOTs, we talk about strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, right? Generally, your internal, where it's about you as a person, are your strengths and your weaknesses. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? And then when we talk about SWOTs, we talk about opportunities and threats being external, outside, right? Something that maybe you don't control. The goal is you don't have to show this to anybody, okay? You can do this by yourself so that nobody ever has to see it. But you really want to take your strengths and match them to the opportunities, okay? So if my strength is I'm really great communicating, then if one of the opportunities is maybe in the cybersecurity arena, there's a lot of opportunities to present and become a thought leader. Well, I can match that strength of I communicate well to the opportunity. And so you just want to look at where can I take my strengths and really match them to opportunities. And since we have weaknesses, this is your opportunity to control your career success. Look at those weaknesses and try to convert them to a strength. So if I lack experience, for example, can I start volunteering? Can I start signing up for additional opportunities at my company, different projects? Can I sign up to be in a leadership position on one of the local cybersecurity associations? Or can I volunteer at some type of cybersecurity organization, right? And then I like to look at threats are really external. Okay. So like one of the popular threats always is disruption, right? What's coming down the pipeline that you're not thinking of that somebody else really is. When it comes to threats, they're outside of your control. Okay. But there's a great book that Dale Carnegie wrote called How to Stop Worrying and How to Start Living. His really popular book is the How to Win Friends and Influence People, right? read in almost every B school around the country. One that's not so popular is the How to Stop Worrying and How to Start Living. It's a great book. One of the premises in that book is, and I have taken this with me and I coach to this all the time. If something's worrying you, if you know that it's a threat, well, then let's look at what is the worst possible scenario, and we can plan for that worst possible scenario. So let's say one of the threats that you know is your industry is going to get disrupted. Maybe you're really reading about different types of techs that are coming down the pipeline, and you know one of them is going to hit it big. Well, what other industries are similar to yours that you could switch your career to if need be? Or could you adjust your career to that particular type of disruption? So looking at the threats, trying to mitigate, how can we control these threats, or can we convert the threats to opportunities? So maybe there is a possible disruption coming, right? Maybe there's a new tech that you've been playing with, or you're really involved in certain, forward-thinking associations that really do have a lot of information. Well, you can start turning that into an opportunity by, I'm going to be ready when it does happen, that I'll be positioned as one of the few who does have a higher level skill set with this particular tech, or whatever it may be. All right. So I do have some resources available. Usually if we were in person, this is where I would hand them out, but I have a career planning guide. I have a career path worksheet. I'm going to drop my email and my LinkedIn into the chat, and then you guys can just email me or reach out to me if you want me to email them to you. If you are in the job search, we do have a job search and career marketing plan worksheet that I'm absolutely happy to share as well. I know everybody is in a different position, and today we are talking about career success, right? So to really have career success and be in control of your career success, whether you're employed or not, you really want to sit down and think about, what do you want to accomplish in 2021, 2022, and then 5 years, 7 years. I have some customers that do 10 years, right? You really want to go into goal setting. And some things to know about goals. One, a goal has to be controlled by you for it to be able to be accomplished. And so when I say that, okay, an example of a goal not controlled by you would be, I want to find a job within the first 3 months of 2021. Well, that's not controlled by you or by me. Well, why? Well, to get a job, I need someone else to offer me a job, right? And that may not be possible. Maybe nobody wants to offer me a job. I'm sure you're an absolutely phenomenal candidate, but maybe they don't want to offer you a job. Maybe there isn't an opportunity. It's not controlled by you. An example of a goal that you could employ that is controlled by you is, I want to increase my network by 50 meaningful relationships. You can go out and you can meet 50 people. You can take those relationships and build them to a more trusted level, right? By following up, by having coffees, virtual coffees, if you're not comfortable in the face-to-face world, joining associations. You can add on 50 people within 3 months or 4 months if you choose to, right? So when we're talking about setting goals for a career, we do want to make sure that they are controlled by us. Goals also want to follow the SMART philosophy, right? You want them to be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. We do have a goal setting worksheet, so just let me know if that's what you want. If you'd like to have any worksheets that will help you. Again, I'm happy to share. So when we come to career success, we have our plan, okay? We're assuming we have a plan at this point. There's always going to be strategies and tactics when you're implementing your career success plan. Strategies, I think of as the overall thing that we're going to be doing, right? So let's just use the example. The strategy would be networking. Networking is my strategy. My tactic is going to be the specific tactical items that I'm going to do to reach whatever my overall goal is, and using the strategy of networking. So for example, my tactic would be, I'm going to RSVP for 5 different networking events, right? Without being able to RSVP, I can't attend them, let's just say, right? Of course, you could always show up. We know that. So just remember, you have strategies and tactics. So now we're going to look at some, what I consider more out of the box strategies for really hitting your defined career success. So one, you want to make sure that we talked about having a 5-year plan. You want to make sure you're staying on track. You need to keep checking your plan. And so here's the thing about career success. The definition will change. It should change. And I hope it changes. There was a time in my life, I was coming out of the University of Miami with my bachelor's degree, and I just thought to myself, wow, if I could get a job making $50,000, my whole world would just be roses and rainbows. There'd be no more issues in the world, right? Well, quickly, when I came out of the University of Miami, I realized, well, that's not really that much, and I need to have a higher level career success goal, right? And so your goal is going to change. And it should change. But one thing that you need to do is you need to keep checking your plan. I like to coach on the strategy of checking your plan. If you can check it quarterly, that's great. I say quarterly, knowing that you'll probably check it twice a year. So I set in my calendar quarterly reminders to check my plan to make sure that I'm moving forward. So let's talk about other things we can do to make sure that we're really assessing and we're really reaching our goals in career success. I like to talk about the attitude of gratitude, keeping a gratitude journal. For me, it's all about a positive mindset. There is not an employer out there, a recruiter or anyone that wants to hire a negative person. I am assuming if you're making a 5-year career plan, you want to progress in your career, right? If you want to stay in the same exact level, perfectly okay. But by developing a positive mindset, and you can do that by honestly just keeping a gratitude journal. And so what I do is throughout the month, I don't do this every day, but I jot down the things that make me happy, that I'm proud of. Like, for example, talking today to you is going to go in my gratitude journal tonight. Why? Because at the end of the year, I can reflect and say, wow, look at all of this that you've accomplished. Or even at the end of the month or the end of the quarter, or when I get down, which it happens because I'm human too, I can look back and I can go, wow, okay, you know what? Today's a pretty crappy day, no doubt, check. But wow, look at all this stuff I did in the last month. I can get back to this. And so keeping a gratitude journal will really help do that. And then journaling your day, really writing down, what did you accomplish? What did you not accomplish? And how did you feel about it? This self-reflection activity will give you a lot of power as far as planning where you want to be in career success. This is one of the things that I think has helped customers the most is when they start journaling their days. And it also gives them a lot of ideas as far as things that they can use in branding techniques, right? So that's interesting. I learned about this today. You know what? I could write an article on that and put it out there. We talked about already writing your goals down, really important. Something I really encourage everyone, and this can be your significant other, it can be your wife, your husband, it can be your sibling, it could be your best friend, but get a goal buddy. Sit down with somebody and pay this information forward, right? Say, hey, you know what? Let's come up with a career plan. Where do we want to be in the next 5 years? My husband and I do this every year at the end of the year through the beginning of the year. I will tell you, sometimes I set goals for him, but you know what? He appreciates it and he goes ahead and implements them too. And at the end, us being able to hold each other accountable to hit our goals really does make a difference. And there have been years where we haven't done it. And I got to tell you, I come to halfway through the year and I'm like, oh my goodness, why do I feel like I'm not accomplishing anything this year? Why? Because I didn't have a plan. And I didn't have anybody to hold me accountable. So do get a goal buddy. That will help you tremendously. Celebrate your small victories. This is something that I've found in coaching for the last 22 years, that most individuals, we just overlook all of our great accomplishments. So for me, for my kids, for my family, for those who I coach, I always make sure that we celebrate their wins for 24 hours. Ride that high. I say forget your losses within 24 minutes. Absolutely. But celebrate your wins. When you hit that skill set that you needed to take a notch up, and you're going to start looking for that next role, or you're going to put your name in the hat for the promotion. Make sure that your victories are documented, which we talked about in the journaling, right? And your attitude of gratitude will help you to have a positive attitude about this. But why I say celebrate our small victories for no less than 24 hours, what I've noticed over the years is that a lot of times people can't even talk to their own victories. Other people can talk to the most amazing things that you've done, but we often will overlook them, okay? So by celebrating our victories, writing them down, journaling them, reflecting back on them, it will help us be the best cheerleaders for ourselves that we can be, and help us move up that notch in our career success plan as we're going. So do celebrate your victories. Set a goal. You know what? When you get that CISSP, go out with a buddy and you know what? You have fun. All right. A vision board. Vision boards they can be a lot of different things, okay? But vision boards are essentially a pictorial representation of what it is you want to accomplish. And this can be a literal representation of what you want to accomplish. Like maybe you want a bigger house with a white picket fence. Well, take a board. I do mine on caulk boards, but you're welcome to do them on poster board. You can do them on an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. If you're graphically inclined and you want to draw, that's fine. But keep it in front of you. Vision boards help keep you on track to where it is you want to be. So if you want that CISO job, well, then you find an image somewhere, maybe that's the CISO that you want to be, and pin it up on a board where you can look at it every single day. Studies show that if you are able to see what it is that you want to accomplish, you're more likely to accomplish it. So not having a vision board can really hold you back and can stop you from hitting your career success milestones. So I love that. If I can't see it, if I can see it, I can remember it, right? So the reverse of that, if I can't see it, I can't remember it. All right, remove negativity. This is something so important. If you have a friend or you have someone in your life that is negative, you got to find a way to either help them become positive, or you have to remove negativity from your life, because being able to progress forward, negativity will hold you back. I have seen it time and time again. My customers I have customers who maybe one doesn't have as great of a skill as another one, but that one with lesser skill, it has a positive mindset, has an attitude of gratitude, and they will get so many more opportunities than my customer who possibly has a negative mindset. And negativity comes out in a lot of ways, right? It comes out in word choice, it comes out in body language, it comes out in, facial expressions, and then it comes out in words too. So do try to remove negativity, and you can start if you're sitting here self-reflecting going, well, I'm kind of negative, but I don't want to tell her that. That's okay too. You don't have to tell me. But one thing I will say is you can choose to be positive. Okay. That is a choice we all make. Create your environment. And so when I say that, I say, you know what? Control what goes on around you. When I meet individuals and I say, hey, so what do you want to do in 5 years? Or what type of opportunity are you looking for? And they say, well, I don't know, whatever, it doesn't matter to me. That to me is like a huge red flag, and to every other recruiter in the world as well, because we want to know what it is you're looking for, right? And so you can create your environment yourself by choosing your goals, by mapping out your plan, by using the tiered success, and then controlling negativity around you. So in my training center, everything is positive. There's positive affirmations everywhere you go, and in my house too, right? So you can choose to create your environment. All right. Regularly assessing your progress. So we talked about this in the beginning. Overall monthly evaluations would be awesome. Quarterly, at the very least, please do it at least twice a year. What I find is when I have my goals that I've set for my career progress or my career success, if I'm checking them at least quarterly, then I can stay on track, right? Even at least twice a year. For me, I try to read. I very much believe if you want to lead, you got to read. I try to read 50 to 52 books a year. That's one a week. Sometimes I say 50 a year because I know during the holidays I'm going to fall behind, but I also try to start really early in the year, and I try to front load a lot of my reading just so when the tail end of the year comes and I'm completely overwhelmed with holiday stress, I don't get down on myself. But I find I keep a list and I journal all the books that I'm reading. And sometimes I'll put my thoughts on some of the books, because the truth is by the end of the year, I may not even remember what that book was about if it didn't make a big enough impact on me, right? And then people will ask me, well, what books do you recommend and things like that? But when I check in, let's say quarterly, and I notice, oh, you know what? I've only read 10 books this quarter. I'm never going to hit my goal if I don't stay on track. And that's what regularly assessing your progress can do for you. More than anything, you have to want your career success. And this is where it comes to, for me, knowing what is your definition of career success, not the definition that your parents gave you. I had a customer once who his family wanted him to become a doctor. Well, he never wanted to be a doctor. And that was really hard. Although he applied to medical school, he went through, getting his degrees in, I think it was biology or microbiology or one of those degrees that would set him up to be a doctor. But at the end of the day, he never wanted it. And he was negative and so unhappy. And then he figured out what he did like. He liked technology. He wanted to be in IT. And when he found that path, he achieved his definition of career success. So do determine what is your definition so that you can reverse engineer it and go from there. So in review, because I know I have 45 minutes and I want to be able to answer questions if anybody has any today, but for review, create or update your 5-year plan. If you want worksheets, just reach out to me. I'm happy to share. Create your strategies and tactics that will work for you. Today, we talked about some out-of-the-box strategies, not necessarily, start branding yourself, post on LinkedIn twice a day, but we have those too as well. And then create your SMART goals, right? Making sure they're specific, they're measurable, attainable, they're related and time bound, right? And then stay motivated and use the 10 goal strategies that we talked about today. So with that, again, I am Suzanne Ricci. My email is on the screen, which is suzanne@computercoach.com. It's pretty simple. It's Suzanne with 1 Z, 2 N's. I'll put it in the chat in just a minute. You can follow me on Twitter. I do run the Tampa Bay Technology Career Advice Meetup. We host all kinds of events through that meetup. Job search strategies, career success strategies. I host a career success coffee talk every Monday where we just crowdsource solutions to what's going on in your career. You can follow Computer Coach on Facebook, Twitter, on LinkedIn as well. With that, I'm going to stop my share. I have to get back to... I'm going to stop my share. And, I think I did stop my share. Did that stop? Okay, I hope so. And with that, I'm going to, thank you, Joseph. Again, I had to be in PowerPoint to see what I was doing. So, okay. So what advice do you have for tackling imposter syndrome when you reach a big career goal? Kelly, that is huge, right? Imposter syndrome, just so in case anybody's not familiar with it, right? Not feeling like you're good enough to do something. Journaling your accomplishments, Kelly, will help tremendously with that, right? And that's where, and I had a very real situation where I co-present with Erica Woods from Apex Systems. I don't know if anybody knows her, but she's lovely. So I co-present with her on career success, and we co-present a couple times a year together, okay? And one year, Erica had to write our bios for the bio screen. And it was really funny because when she sent it to me to approve, I read it and I went, I do all that? Oh my goodness. Wow, that's really impressive, right? Because it's so easy to feel like I'm not good enough. I really don't know what I'm doing. But one, know what you know, okay? Everybody suffers from imposter syndrome at some time, someday. Everybody has a down day, okay? So one, know what you know, okay? Two, journal your accomplishments. It's so important. I mean, I full transparency here, fall on and off of journaling like every other person in the world. Okay. When I journal my accomplishments, it's so much easier to know what I know. Okay. And then also, there was a time in my life where I was really down on myself and positive affirmations. I had positive affirmations that I wrote out on index cards, and I found myself in a situation personally, not professionally, but personally, that really I wasn't sure if I was coming or going personally. And so I had these positive affirmations with me everywhere I went. And if I had any self doubt, I just literally would whip out my index cards. If I was in line at the grocery store, I'd pull over if I was driving. If it started to creep in, I would just pull over, and these positive affirmations helped me tremendously. So journaling so that you can reflect back on what it is you know. And then, for me also, I feel like sometimes with imposter syndrome, it creeps in because I think we need to keep a schedule of upskilling. And that is super important to me and obviously core to what I do, but I do it because it's super important to me. And I feel like if we're constantly upskilling, well, then imposter syndrome will also be able to suppress imposter syndrome because we are constantly growing and learning. I feel like imposter syndrome sometimes creeps in where it's like, you know what? I haven't really done anything in that topic in 5 months. Maybe this person really does know more than me or something like that. Like, for example, to give you an idea, I apply for jobs for fun. Why? Well, I coach people who want to find employment. So if I don't know the process, then it would be really difficult for me. Okay. Do you practice presenting often? Well, I hope that's a yes is the answer, Joseph. I hope that wasn't a question because I need more practice, but I am always practicing. I present on Tuesdays through Computer Coach. We have a job success series. I present every Tuesday a different webinar on a job search topic, which you can find them on our Tampa Bay Technology Career Advice Meetup. And then I host a guest speaker series for career success every Friday through Computer Coach. I do host a job success support group on Thursdays for job seekers. And then I also hold a career success coffee talk. And I love to present at different conferences. I'm constantly filling out the call for speakers because I really like it. So I hope that was a question because I hope I'm doing an okay job here today. What would be a cool tool or set of tools available on the internet to evaluate our SWOT? You know what? That's a great question. And I don't know how I feel about evaluating because that's incredibly self-reflective. The SWOT, as far as a career tool, it's really a self-reflective tool. So I don't know if I would recommend pinning it against an evaluation tool. I've never done that. I'm going to write that down to look into it. I don't know who's asking what questions. So you are more than welcome to ping me if you feel comfortable, and we can talk about that offline. I'm going to do some research on it. But my initial gut is it's so self-reflective that I would be concerned with what another tool would say. What I do think is really important is part of those career success interviews as far as I want to be a pen tester. What skills do I really need? What credentials do I really need? Certifications are coming up all the time. Some are coming in, some are coming out. What are the ones that are out there that are really reputable? You can do that through interviewing. And also, I think what I left out, but really important, is through research. Being able to go and read from the different associations that are supporting these credentials or bringing these credentials out, or what skills, there's so many resources out there today. What's the best book you've read this year? Okay, this year. So I just finished, and I do a lot of audiobooks. I have an article on my LinkedIn on how I found 9 hours a week to read, and I get asked quite a bit. So this year, in my Audible, because I do a lot of audiobooks, I listen when I'm walking or when I'm not with my kids. So don't anybody mommy shame me. And somebody recommended The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. I don't know if anybody's read that, but has nothing to do with tech. It's total self-help book, but it was a great book, and it's super small. It's really deep. So I'm definitely going to be listening to it a couple times. But The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz was a great book. I also have started following a couple years ago somebody named Robin Sharma, who he wrote The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. You may have heard of that one. That's pretty popular, but he has some various things. And then I am reading one right now because I deal with a lot of job seekers and I deal with a lot of imposter syndrome and people getting down and how to be resilient in your job search. It's called Unfuck Yourself. So I'm about an hour into that book. That's the one I'm reading actually right now. Trying to look at what else so far this year. Oh, Super Engaged is good. Traction is another. Traction's actually one I really, really liked. All right. So I hope that helps. Does anybody have any questions? All right, so I will hang out in the networking tables if anybody wants to come ask a question privately. I know I was told I had 45 minutes and I'm at a minute over. So I'm happy to stay and answer questions for you or network, grow. I'm going to put my email in the chat. All right, so there's my email. And I'm going to drop my LinkedIn in as well. Feel free to connect with me